Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Birdland. I'm your host, Cedric Jenkins. You're with Jammin with Jenks. Have a special guest here today, head coach of our women's volleyball team, Toby Rens, who's no stranger to the University of Merlin Eastern Shore. Toby, how are you doing today?
Fine, thanks. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, one thing that I wanted to do is to have the Welcome Back Carter theme music come in for you and everything, but I couldn't produce
that
that.
would
But
have been good.
hey, you being no stranger to the shore.
Yep.
Um, Compare your first season here at UMES with this year being back in 2014.
Well, thankfully, there's a little more to work with, definitely, this time around. Honestly, that first time was pretty bleak. I remember first day on the job working with the team, I was about ready to walk off. I'm like, no way, I can't. I had no idea that Division One volleyball could have been that bad, to be honest. But that first time around, I inherited some good kids, and their heart was in the right place, and they gave everything they could. But the first time around, I was literally walking around campus and trying to find people to force to play volleyball, not even volunteer as much as I was looking for walk-ons. Or I think we had 7 players to
Wow.
start out with, then, and I literally did get a couple of kids to walk on off the track team, and
Okay.
um, and there a couple other walk-ons, and that coupled with the returning players, and we rolled the dice and kind of went a lot stacked against us. They had we broke a 72 match losing streak that first season,
Okay.
and won 3 matches, and I don't even want to remember how many we lost. But we
Easy
kind of
for coaches to forget that.
yeah, exactly. I can tell you wins every season, but we definitely turned the corner there, and kind of got it moving in the right direction. And this year, I think they won 3 matches in 2013. So it was a group that didn't have a whole lot of confidence. Maybe there was a little more to work with ability wise, and I think the buy-in was pretty good.
Okay.
And we definitely got to move it in the right direction again.
Okay. Um, what is it about Merlin Eastern Shore that made you want to come back? What is it appealing to you or appeal to you this time around?
It's a very good question, first of all, but I would say it's a little bit like home. I grew up in Iowa,
Okay.
and it we have cornfields, we have bean fields, and
Okay.
you got that out here. It's pretty rural, and we have
Yes.
livestock and chickens and cows and everything. So the commute to and from work is kind of similar from that aspect, and
Okay.
but yet it's the East Coast, and
Mhm.
it's everything proximity to the ocean, and you can be out there on a great weekend, and you're in Ocean City, and
Mhm.
that's kind of within driving distance, very easy access, and you don't have that in Iowa.
Okay.
In fact, we
Okay.
just had a few lakes in the entire state.
And you just talk to us a little bit about some of the things you had to work with as far as your first time, your first experience here in Merlin Eastern Shore. Talk about the challenges of rebuilding a program.
I think every institution, when you're trying to rebuild, it's not the first place that I've gone to try and rebuild a program, but you really, I think, you have to tap into your resources, and so often I think that's the people.
Hmm.
That was one of the appealing things of coming back here, is just my comfort level with the people that I knew, and I think there's some quality people here, people that you enjoy coming into contact with every day, people that you enjoy working with, and you feel like they're helping you as much as they can. Maybe the finances aren't always there when you want it to be, but there's people that are helping, and very helpful attitudes, and so that goes a long ways. Um, but in terms of looking at and building a program, you have to sell your strengths, definitely. And the first time around, we're kind of trying to create momentum and trying to create a program that at least got respect when we got out on the court. I remember we used to have goals of, like, trying to get to 20 points in a set, and not just winning a set, but trying to get to 20 points against a better opponent. And um, we did that, and we kind of turned the corner. And this time around too, it's the goal coming in was to win the conference, and we talked about winning our division and winning the conference, and where I think that was pretty lofty from a group that had finished second to last year. um, I thought it was pretty important too to kind of set the bar. Like, hey, no, this is what we're about, and this is what we're working for, and not just trying to, get it one place higher,
Hmm.
but kind of putting it out there. And I think we went after it. I think we showed some really good progress. I think
Okay.
we showed some good results at times, and didn't always have maybe the experience necessary. I think to kind of push us over the hurdle, if you will, and
Okay.
come away with some of the wins. And some of that comes in with time. Some of it comes with experience, and I think there are younger having a number of younger kids. I think we had five freshmen or five sophomores this past year and two
Hmm.
freshmen, and um, not only were they on the team, they were often on the court and in pretty tough, pretty
That's
set
quite difficult.
pressure
Yes.
situations. And
Learning on the job.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
All right. So, can you pinpoint for us some of the things that you did like that the team, how they performed on the court, some of the things that you were really pleased with them with?
I was very pleased with the buy-in, and you come in as a coach, and um, sure enough, you're like throwing a wrench into everything they thought they knew about volleyball, and
Hmm.
you're asking them to change skills and do things your way because you kind of see that as the vision of the team. And um, if they don't buy in, then you get a lot of resistance. And
Hmm.
I was very pleased in looking back with this group that the buy-in was very largely very good. And they want to kind of know why, and they want to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think at the end of the day, into the season, maybe the wins weren't as many as we wanted, but the buy-in was pretty good, and I felt like we started really resembling a team that knew exactly what they were doing, that was pretty dedicated, pretty focused, and very competitive. It seemed like no matter who we stepped out on the court with.
That's all you ask for as a coach, just to play with your heart and be as competitive as you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
be.
yeah.
And there's some things that you're looking or that you feel that you need to improve upon next season that you're really focused on.
I think some of our younger players definitely get that year of experience under the belt.
Okay.
I think for them, they're going to be in a much better spot because they know where I'm coming from.
Hmm.
They know what my expectations are. They have a much better sense of our style of play. And for us, it's we kind of I always want to play with kind of an aggressive control. And we talk often about like being in system or out of system, and our ability to recognize that I think will be much greater next year. And then when they recognize that we're in system and know what we're going after, then I think they're going to be much more aggressive. And when you're younger and experienced, you don't always you can't always tap into that,
Right.
but the
Exactly.
the juniors and the
Exactly.
seniors on teams that have been with a coach for a few years, they know when they can really go after it.
Hmm.
They know when it's a critical moment. They know when they got to kind of step it up. And I think younger players have a tendency to maybe play it safe then,
Hmm.
and then that's where experienced teams
Exactly.
pounce on it.
Exactly.
And I think we'll still be young in some aspects next year, but we'll have a lot of experience, and I think that's going to pay off. You're watching Jammin with Jenks at University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
And speaking with that, so how do you feel about the team chemistry for next year? Do you think it would immediately grow as far as with the beginning of the season? Do you still believe that it will take a little bit of time for them to understand what you're looking for and what you're asking for?
Team chemistry is something we're always working on as coaches, and as you know, you can add one player to the mix or one personality to the mix, and it completely changes things, and maybe for the better, for the worse sometimes. And you want to try and control as much of that as possible. And I think I really, I personally talk to the players all the time about like rather than calling somebody a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, I'll refer to them as first year, second
Okay.
year, third year, fourth year. But for all of them this year, there was their first year with me,
Hmm.
and so I kind of nipped that in the bud a little bit there,
Okay.
where it's like, hey, look, no, we're all in the same boat. Whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, we're all here playing for me the first time, and we need to kind of fall in line. And I think the more you kind of emphasize that and a team first attitude, then you hope the right things transpire, and all you can do as a coach, I think, is kind of provide the environment for the right things to happen, and then try to channel it as best as you can, and um, hope they grow the right way.
And being able to see you and work closely with you being here at Merlin Eastern Shore as a women's basketball coach, you have great motivational tactics and strategies that you use with your team. What made you want to be a coach after your
Well,
career?
first of all, thank you, because there's some days where we feel like we don't have the ability to motivate anyone,
I
and
know
you
how
feel
you
like
feel.
you're pulling teeth, and it's just like you can't get through to anyone. But the from that aspect, one thing I've always liked about my job, I guess, is just the psychology of it. Where you got to find a different angle for everyone, and you can't take the exact same approach with every kid. And if you do, you're going to lose like half of them. And you might get through to the other half, but that doesn't do you any good.
Yes.
And from some of my players, maybe to give you an example, it just if I call them out even remotely in front of the team, they're going to take a nosedive. And there's just no way it's going to do any good for that player, myself, or the team to call out inappropriate behavior or something. And it might be much better off, having a one-on-one with her after practice and being like, hey, look, this was unacceptable.
Exactly.
What'd you think about this, this, and this? Next time, let's do this. And then I'll get much more out of her moving forward, And then there's other ones that they're tough as nails and they can take it, and they kind of have this "I'll show you" attitude. And if you provoke them the right way in front of their peers, they just take it to a completely different level. So I've probably always enjoyed that aspect of coaching, just as much as anything, and where you kind of have to find the right angle of approach for every one of the kids, and to try to get the most out of them within a team dynamics, and that's the tricky part.
Now, you've been a successful assistant coach. Is there anything that you've learned from the various stops that you've been at that helped you or that you've been able to use as a head coach?
Yeah, I think I've had some great mentors. I look all the way back to high school, and I wasn't able to play volleyball on a varsity team in high school. I had to play on the club team outside of high school. They didn't have a sanctioned state championship in Iowa. But the high school girls coach that we had at the time, Wayne Westenberg, just really first notch program and first notch guy in terms of how to do things the right way. And really fortunate because I was just kind of like this gym rat and just wanted to learn more about the game. And he kind of took me in and let me learn more and more, and kind of be the team manager or student assistant, if you will. And my role kind of grew during my 4 years of high school. And even as a freshman in high school, I remember declaring to my mom one time, because I wasn't able to drive home on my own, and she's driving me home, that I'm going to be a coach. And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to be a coach, volleyball coach someday." And at that time, I think I wanted to teach history and coach volleyball.
Okay.
History is long forgotten, that's for sure. And then it moved on to I think art and coaching, and it became physical education, and coaching and stuff. So stuck with it, and here I am still today. So.
All right, that's good. Hey, long, outstanding career so far. I'm sure
Thanks.
many more years to go. My first experience here at Merlin Eastern Shore playing collegiately, my first collegiate basketball game was against University of Iowa.
Oh,
Dr.
really?
Jones, yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if you're familiar with the gentleman. I've actually seen him recently. AC Earl was the center.
Yes,
Very
absolutely.
popular at the
He's
time.
a great
yeah.
player.
And when we stepped off the bus, I saw nothing but snow. Talk to us a little bit about Iowa growing up in those cold winters back then.
Well, for quite a while, I lived on a farm, like on an acreage, as a
Okay.
kid growing up, and we had some very brutal winters. And if that's your first impression, that's spot on, actually. We not only did we have the snow, but we had the wind with it, and that's probably the hardest thing, because there'd be just brutal snow drifts, higher than the ceiling in this room, and roads that would close over because the snow just drift for miles and miles. And I distinctly remember having snow days, not just one or two, but 3 days in a row or something, where school's closed. And this is in a state that actually has good snow removal, but sometimes the winters were so brutal or so cold, frigid temperatures, 40, 45 below, wind chill kind of stuff. And you don't even think about going out at night. So.
It's been pretty cold here, but not as cold as Iowa, though.
Yeah. And so yeah, the winters are much more mild here. But another thing that I love about the shore in this area of the country is that we have four very distinct seasons.
Hmm.
In winter, spring, summer, and fall. And I've always enjoyed that piece of it. And but yet it's not too brutal in the winters.
Yeah, I've been able to, yeah, to appreciate that as well. Not
Yeah,
too brutal.
I don't know.
Toby, thank you for your time.
Oh,
Thank you for
thanks a lot.
joining us
That's good.
today on the show.
Yep.
And thank you for joining us on the shore. We look forward to seeing you again. And remember, a calm sea doesn't make a skilled sailor. See you next time in Hawk County. Bye bye.